Alright guys, yesterday's video was way too noisy. I know it was really hard to hear anything. So I'm going to make a second video here so you can see a few other things that are live now that I have Kyle Dahl's helicopter here, his 690. He just finished the flight, and you get to see a lot of the things that show up on the screen as well after the flight. One of the coolest things, you know, of course I showed you before with the Scorpion trimming and stuff, but you can see everything that happened, what's going on. This is a 5,000 milliamp pack. He had 20% he wanted left over. You can see he used 4,008, which is perfect. See what his BAC voltage was, his battery voltage is currently, and what his ESC temperature is, which is really nice. And these are just like with the battery too. You can go through and you can set everything up if necessary. One of the cooler things also is on the bottom when you connect to the helicopter, you're going to change all of your settings, agility, gain, style, all that stuff, and that's all bank dependent. So if I go in here and now I got, you see bank 1 in the corner, I switch to bank 2, all the agility stuff changes for each one, whatever it may be. So those are different things that you can do as far as your settings are concerned. Your head speeds, obviously you can change that if you needed to. Tail rate, tail rotor gain, all that stuff too. And here's your bank and your motor switch telling you what it is. One other cool thing is you go to archives and you could always find the battery for whatever you had. You could find the flight for what you just had, which literally he just flew his 690. I think this is the right one. And you can go in here and now you can pull up the same information that you had from before if it's in your archives, which is cool. These are all the flight parameters, main rotor, tail rotor, and these are all bank dependent. So if I change the banks, you see the number go over. And those are all the numbers that you can have for each individual tail rotor, main rotor, gain, governor, all of that cool stuff. Your model status is the same thing from before. It gives you the information of the serial number of the V-bar as well as the firmware version, which is cool. Edit your model setup if you want to actually go in and do some editing of the setup. Of course, we talked about this before. Here's your governor, your main rotor, your tail rotor, all that stuff from before. Nothing's changed. So if you wanted to change that, whatever, you can go and just hit it and change it if necessary. Once it's set, obviously it's set, so you don't have to do that anymore. But this is the same wizard as before. Nothing's really changed. Model tools, telemetry, where you can see the Scorpion setup, the RC voltage monitor, all that stuff. You can unbind from the model if necessary. You can save your setups, just like on the Vcontrol. There's nothing that's changed. Your applications. Player control is actually kind of cool because that allows you to play music from your phones or stuff like that. Modifying configurations. I haven't played with that yet, so I don't know what that is, so I'm not going to play with it just yet. The battery manager, that's another way of getting to it. Here's the alarms, so you can do an auto alarm, you can do a vibration or a speak percent, which is cool. The speak percent is what I really like because that allows me to fly to the percentage that I have of the battery no matter how I'm flying. So if I'm flying harder than I normally do, I may fly for 4 minutes and then I might want to just part around the sky and fly for 6 minutes. But either way, I'm never over discharging my battery, which is really cool. So you can see it's telling every time you set it up, there'll be 30% left in the battery and all that stuff. So these are all questions. Whenever you hit a question, it'll give you an explanation of what happens as well, which is another cool feature, which is on all of the V-bar stuff before, but it's also been transferred into the Vcontrol Touch. Now here's one of the things I wanted you guys to see. So when I disconnect the power for the battery, you're going to see another screen come up as it disconnects. So now it's going to completely come up with the log for the actual helicopter. He's got 2 battery things in there. I forgot about that. He does his stuff a little weirder than everybody else. There we go. Now we got no power. Alright, so now it's going to come up. You'll see the screen pop up in a second. Is that Neo still on? Neo's off? Should be back to the main screen here in a second. I think he's got a secondary battery down. Hold on. He's got a poppy door or something in here. So this is what happens when you play with everybody else's models. I'm turning this quick back off. There we go. Now we're going to disconnect. There we go. Now we're disconnected. Okay, so the cool thing that pops up is this is the screen that you saw before, but now it shows you exactly how much he used during the flight, just like he did before. But this graph is live, and the cool thing about this graph is it shows you all the peaks and valleys for the whole flight. Let's say I want to look at this part over here. You come over here, and you can actually, when you hit this and use this tool, you can update the apps on the transmitter. Oh, that's the manager. you can go to any part of the graph and see what exactly the peaks and the valleys are. You look at 30 seconds here, you see it had a spike here, 1 minute had a spike here, and if you look at each one, it gives you the head speed is in yellow, which is up top here, the voltage is right here in green, so you see what the battery's doing. The current is what the big spikes are, because that's when you're flying and obviously doing transitions. And then the head speed, you see his maximum was 2343, probably doing an overspeed, and his minimum 0 because it's on the ground now. And here's your temperature. You see the temperature nice and easy scrolling up where it is, but it stays underneath the total, which is awesome as well. One thing you can do, you pull up the logs as well for the particular helicopter right then, and you could see exactly what happened. If he had any kind of thing happen that was strange stream vibrations when he's taking off, governor full throttle, because my man Kyle likes to get on it, and you can see exactly what happened after that as well. You can close that down, and the cool thing is that information is not lost, because you can go down here and you can see pre-last flight and get to the same thing, same information before. Now the graph is not going to be live because you've exited out at that point and go on the log, but the log is still there. Go to the log and it'll still put up the log from that one. You can go to last flight, and that's the one I just shoot. That's the graph. I'm sorry, that's where the graph is. On the pre-last flight is the one before the one that just landed, and you can still pull up the graph and you can still see what you want to do on the screen, which is really cool. If you don't want to make any adjustments, you guys see all the trim knobs here. These are all trims that you can use for different values on the helicopter. When you want to make adjustments in flight, you got 4 of those plus the lock and unlock modify switches that we've had before. Nothing's changed. And then you can go to changes and go to change the name, change the collective, the tail if you want to reverse it or whatever. The brightness of the screen, which by the way, this is right now, as bright as it is only at 16%. You can take it and go to 100 and it gets crazy bright. I know you can barely see it on that screen, but it's really easy to see right around 20%, which is nice. The telemetry, that's the volume for the telemetry. Here's the volume for the system and all that stuff. Boost, I don't know what that is. I gotta play with that and find out what that is, and I'll let you know. Wi-Fi, you turn that on, it basically runs. You connect to a phone or whatever. You can do automatic updates. Active idle, that's when the helicopter's off. It'll pop on as soon as you power it up. It'll do that. Now, I've just learned the screen is live when it's doing that, but after 8 hours, the helicopter does a hard shut off. Excuse me, the radio does a hard shut off, and then there's a button on the back in order to turn it back on. That button right there. So you'll never have to worry about the screen being live and killing the battery when it's in a case, because after 8 hours it shuts down, which is really cool. So Mikado really thought of a lot of stuff on this radio. It's really cool how it works, and hopefully you guys can hear my voice in this one. If you have any questions, shoot me a message or contact Mikado USA at 1-844-4Mikado, extension 2, and I'll talk to you guys later.